In front of me I have two big boxes, one from Amazon, one from Germany, for a project that I didn't know I was going to do. I always suspected I would head this way eventually because the over-the-seat saddlebags always have left something to be desired. But if I was going to do a side rack mounted saddlebag on my Triumph T120, I really wanted something that was subtle and wouldn't destroy the look of the bike. So first off, if you've watched my channel before, you may have come across my Viking saddlebag review. And here is my my Viking saddlebag. I really like the Viking saddlebag. I mean, let's be honest, it's a real quality bag, especially for the cost, which was $99 US for two bags. But if you've also watched my channel, you know that I made a modification to the mounting system. So what I did was I added these watch bands that I could strap the bag to, and I added these permanent sort of hooks on the back of the bag to string the watch bands through. And the reason for that was that these connectors just seemed to come loose all the time. And I was a little worried that on a long trip, these saddlebag would come loose and hang in an odd way. So I made that modification to the Viking mounting system. And that works really well, especially for commuting, but it worked well for the last big trip I took. And then I noticed last week when I was cleaning the motorcycle that the saddlebag, which I have not cleaned yet, had some wear on it on the bottom edge along the side that would face the motorcycle. Now, I always ride with the right-hand saddlebag on the bike. When the saddlebag was mounted on the side of the bike, there should have been a huge gap between the bike and the saddlebag, and especially any moving parts. In fact, no matter how low I put this, I can't see it ever coming in contact with a moving part on the side of the bike. So I'm not sure what caused that wear. In fact, if you have experience with Viking saddlebags, or any saddlebags, for the side of your Triumph that have worn like this, get in touch in the comments section. I'd love to hear what you discovered, if you ever did discover what was causing the wear on the saddlebag. Anyhow, this did actually trouble me for like 24 hours. I was like, well, that's weird. There should be nothing it could be coming in contact with that's rotating. It's not dragging on the ground. So anyhow, I decided with that maybe what I should do was to purchase a saddlebag rack that went off the side here so that I could further protect my Viking saddlebags. Because I really do like the Viking saddlebags. But the other thing that I haven't liked about the Viking saddlebags is the over-the-seat holder. And the reason I haven't liked it, if you can see, is it has just discolored the white trim on the seat where the saddlebag holder was sitting. I don't know what caused that discoloration. The underside of this is a is sort of a rubberized black nylon. I'm going to have to try to clean that off at some point. Again, if you've had experience with the white trim on your seat becoming discolored where you have had any kind of saddlebag sitting and you had to clean the white trim on the seat, put something in the comments section to let me know what you use to clean the white trim and to recondition it. Okay, so what have I done then? I discovered this last week, so I put in some quick orders. I went online and I looked for a rack that I could put on the side of the Triumph T120. The company I found was a company called MOKKA. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. It's www.mokka.com. Everything I could tell from its site was it was a German site. And what I bought was a set of side racks. So the side rack is designed to sit on the bike between the foot peg and the shock, the upper shock mount. And I think that will look fairly unobtrusive. I got it in black instead of chrome, mostly because the chrome on the bike looks so good as it is, and if I added more chrome to the side, I felt like it would stand out more. Initially I thought, I'll get a side rack, and then when I remount the Viking bags, at least they'll have something that they're resting up against to be sure that they're not rubbing against something on the side of the bike. But because I also have always wanted a more secure side-mounted saddlebag and one that had a quick release so that I could unclip it and pull it off the bike fairly easily, I decided to take a look to see if I could find a company that sold a quick release bag. And so I came across this bag from Rhino Walk on Amazon. These were $76 per bag. So the Viking bags were $99 for the pair. These are $76 per bag. But they come with a bracket on the back, as you can see, that will loop over the pole. And so I thought, okay, I mean, it's not a huge amount of money to see if a different saddlebag will clip on these new racks that I got and save me from having to put back on the over the seat mount that came with Viking. And then over time, I can try to figure out a way of modifying the Viking bag so that it also can rest on the side mount. So this is the project I have for myself. The first challenge is going to be removing the upper shock mount. I've never messed with the suspension on the motorcycle. I watched a couple videos online, like you do when you're trying to think about something like this. What I was afraid of was that the shock might be under some sort of tension, and that when I took off this upper mount, that it might, the shock itself might pop off. I'm fairly convinced now that it's not going to be under any kind of tension, and also that it's fairly firmly attached to its mounting peg. So really all I have to do is loosen the bolt and attach the rack there, and then put the bolt back on. I did look up online what kind of torque I might need on the bolt. I have an old torque wrench. The online recommendations I saw, I think it came off of Reddit, was 28 Newton meters, which I'll have to do the conversion to foot-pounds to use my American torque wrench. That doesn't sound like a lot to me. So again, if you have any experience on what you torque these bolts up to for the rear suspension on the Triumph Bonneville T120, put that in the comments section as well. I'm going to go with what I found when I torque it up today and put it to about 28 Newton meters. And I'll hope that that holds. Okay, for the foot peg, it looks like I need a 12 millimeter spanner. So the foot peg's pretty easy. It doesn't feel like that foot peg is attached that hard to the side of the bike. I mean, it is just a foot peg after all. It shouldn't be. Okay, I have discovered one thing about the foot peg. You'll notice as I turn the bolt on the back, the bolt on the inside is rotating. So I need something to hold the bolt here firm, which means I'm probably going to have to take the peg, the fold down foot peg off. That looks fairly easy. There's just a retention spring, or I don't even know what you call these, but there's a retainer here with a pin that goes through. So I think once I remove that retainer and the pin, the foot peg itself will just lift off. Okay, I got the retainer off. As with most projects, taking the part off, I've done without worrying about what tool I'm going to use to put it back on. But I'll leave that on my garage floor. And now I should be able to just slide the pin out. And the foot peg slides off. I'm not sure what the purpose of this is. I'll have to think about how that pin works again when I go to reattach the foot peg. Right now, I'll leave all of the foot peg components next to each other. It looks like a 6 millimeter hex wrench, or Allen wrench is what I would call this, will fit into that bolt and hold it tight while I use the wrench to loosen the rest. And given that this will rotate on the outside of the peg, I might just hold it with the back and loosen from the front. Okay, I realized I don't actually have to take the bolt all the way off. That should be enough for me to attach the bottom of the mount to the rear foot peg. Now, while I made that rear foot peg removal look kind of complex, it really wasn't. So I am confident that I will make the removal of the bolt for the shock look equally complicated. For the top bolt on the rear shock, I need an 8mm Allen wrench. I have one in my metric Allen wrench, but I also got a attachment for my sprocket wrench to hopefully make this a little bit easier for the removal. Okay, that bolt is off. So looking at the attachment here, I think it will go in between, but I think what I'm going to do is put the bolt through there and then the washer on the back side of the bolt. Okay, so just a warning that this little ball bearing in there, if that comes out, it can be a little bit of a nightmare to put your rear foot peg back on. It's just taken me about a half an hour to get the assembly back in place. You know, the ball bearing's not under a lot of tension, but it's greasy and under enough tension that when it pops out, it really pops out. So a lot of that half an hour was me crawling around on the floor of my garage looking for the insert whatever swear words you want there, ball bearing. So now I just have to reattach the retaining clip on the bottom. And the retaining clip was relatively easy. That actually went on by hand. So you can see the purpose of the ball bearing is that locking mechanism. It locks to the top and it locks to one of the clips on the side. So, my rear foot peg is back on. Okay, so I've got the one rack mounted. Now I need to do the other side and then tighten the suspension bolts to the required torque. Turn the motorcycle around. I've put it back up on its center stand. Now the left-hand side of the motorcycle. To be honest, if I can figure out how to take the rear bolt off here without removing the foot peg, I am going to do that. That truck you just heard driving away was the Amazon delivery of the second saddlebag. I had ordered the new saddlebags, not realizing that only one came in the box. I should have. $76 for 2 saddlebags did seem like an incredible deal to me. Even as it is, $76 for each saddlebag is not a bad deal. Okay, so I'm going to loosen the foot peg on this side now. What I'm going to try to do is hold the center nut in place with my bottlenose pliers. I don't think I need a lot of tension on that center nut to keep it in place, just so I can get the rear nut off. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, that bottlenose plier trick worked. I got the rear nut off without having to disassemble the foot peg. So if you're doing this job, that would be my recommendation. Use something, jam something in there to hold the nut still while you loosen the rear, or hold the bolt while you loosen the rear nut. Now it's time for the rear shock mount. Okay, the bike is up on its center stand, so there's no weight on the rear wheel. So let's loosen this. Again, I'm going to leave the washer on the back side so that it's the thing that is in contact with the mounting bracket and not the arm of the saddlebag mount. Okay. Oh, I think I got a cold the other night. Anyhow, let's tighten this back down. And before I tighten it the rest of the way, I'm going to attach the bottom of the bracket back to the foot peg. Okay, that was so much easier. I just, I crammed the bottlenose pliers in just like this. That was enough to hold that bolt still while I tightened up the back. My recommendation is to use that method and don't disassemble the foot peg. So I've got my second rack on. Now I just need to make sure that the bolts for the top suspension is tightened to the correct torque. Well, I have a problem. I sheared off the bolt on the left side of my suspension, trying to get it torqued to the right foot-pounds. Well, after breaking the bolt on the left-hand side rear suspension, it took a couple of days to sort everything out. I tried multiple bolt extractors. I'll take a picture of the one that actually worked. The others were garbage. So the tool that I used that worked, if you're in a situation with a stuck bolt, I would get that tool. So this is what the new saddlebag racks look like. I'm very happy with the black. I think it definitely blends in better than if I had chrome.
The first two tools did not work. Speed Out did not work, Cobalt did not work. The Napa tool set did. I think it worked because of the chisel teeth on the tool. When you pounded it into the drilled out shaft of the bolt, it really was able to bite and dig in.